That concludes the overview. Now I'd like to introduce our first fantastic instructor, Sebastian. Please go ahead and talk about biomedical science.
Hi, thank you, Jeanette. Just to let all of you know, I have 4 children. My 2-year-old is right next to me watching YouTube. So if you hear any children laughing in the background, it's him. I teach the biomedical science group. Essentially, we like to explore and venture into the idea of what human health and disease looks like at a molecular level. So essentially understanding how genes and genomes function, how they transcribe messages that your biology and your cellular biology turns into some sort of protein output, but also looking at how this field has changed over the last 150 years and where it looks like it's going. And really, I guess right now we're kind of going through a bit of a revolution in the last 5 to 10 years in terms of what can be a model system and the tools that are available to use that. And the nice thing about that is that we can use, I guess, your availability remotely to explore a lot of bioinformatic resources that are available to literally everyone on this planet. So we try and take that and use it as a tractable resource that can let you do some of the things that might very well allow you to better understand biology. Could we go to the next slide? Perfect. So essentially, we want to train you to become citizen scientists. A lot of that also involves learning how to navigate scientific literature, which is something that they don't really teach you in high school. You might see a lot of press releases in the newspaper about things that are happening in science, but really understanding how to get access to that data, get access to those publications, and understanding how that information can be used, even at a very basic level in terms of, understanding how certain data were generated by specific techniques. So we will focus on a handful of bioinformatic data sets that many of you will learn how to navigate. In addition to that, I suppose you're fortunate enough to work with somebody who has an active research program that specifically studies, molecular mechanisms and how they interact between the genes and the environment. Part of the projects that we have designed over the course of this is, perhaps you've heard of the CRISPR system. We will teach you how to design probes that allow you to target specific genes for knockdown. I actually work with a handful of model systems such as mice, cichlids, fall armyworms. Really, we have a bit of a zoo in our own lab. And should anything look particularly, interesting, if you can ask a compelling question, we might even very well use some of these probes for targeted knockdown of specific genes in model systems. Some of these can also be used to generate transgenic systems. So thankfully, a lot of this can be designed in silico, as they say, so on your computer, but it does require a very deep understanding of the biology. So we teach that, but we also try and pair it with projects that, if not useful in exercise for you, but might very well be implemented in a research program here in my own lab. So I think that sums it up. I don't want to talk too long. I want to leave time for all the other great speakers we have. Should I hand it off, Jeanette?
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. There will be some time for questions at the end,
Sure.
So everyone can keep note of their questions. So let me move along here and introduce our next wonderful instructor, David Z. So David, go ahead, take it away.
Yes. Following Sebastian's kind of line of thought, right? So today, I think there's a lot of you have start learning programming, right? So and you certainly have know what AI is. But still a lot of students, after they learn, when I encounter students learning multiple languages, C++, Java, Python, they don't really know why they learn that or what is it for, right? So this project class is really trying to get the student understanding, make a connection between their interest in programming and AI. So so then you're asking the question, why do we use games and puzzles, right? So it turns out historically, if you look at how AI was first studied, obviously games, whether it's a chess or eventually Go, has been studied by AI. You heard of AlphaGo, right? So people, the AI program actually won against the world champion. So obviously we're not going to go into that level of depth for the class. But games and puzzle turns out to be really interesting topics for you to appreciate what computer can do, because obviously itself represent intellectual challenges, right? So you solve puzzles, and you obviously you think that requires your intelligence to solve puzzles. You play games, from simple as tic-tac-toe to so in this project, at the end we'll solve the Wordle puzzle. So obviously a lot of kids play Wordle, and we can actually solve in seconds all the Wordle problems that you have been doing. And so in some way, it really allows you to understand, how from you knowing how to use some program language to solving a problem of interest. And hopefully that will motivate you from, beyond the class to start understanding that coding it's not by itself, it's a tool, but it's really, once you have the skill of coding, you can use it, right? So they said, going from learning to code to learn, it becomes a really powerful tool for you to explore whatever interests you have. Next slide, please. So in this 6-week class, right? So we will, and at the core, AI is really what is called computational thinking, right? So, which is basically the idea is how do you teach the computer what you know, right, to do, and then take advantage of the computer power to do things that beyond, human capability. So that's why AI is powerful. So we have in the class, we introduce the techniques and concepts. We'll work on several projects together, but at the same time, students can, based on their level of their interest, I would like them to find an interesting puzzle or game that they would like to write the AI program to do. So hopefully, like I said, so this is more like beyond this class. I hope that you appreciate that, the reason why you learn programming is to use it to help you to explore and to solve challenging problems, right? So whether I have students who have after the class, they have, many high school students, they do robot competition, right? So they can create AI for the robots. There are students using the technique to do. Many students use that to create interactive learning app. And also, I hope that after this class, students truly appreciate the uniqueness of computational thinking and computational problem solving. So that's it.
Thank you so much, David. That was amazing. So 2 more to go, actually, but Raj is next. So take it away, Raj.
Thank you, Jeanette. Hello, everybody. I'm going to start with a short story. We all love our smartphones. And when Steve Jobs created the iPhone, it's interesting the problem he was trying to solve. What he figured out that people love the Mac, but if there was a way to make the Mac available anywhere they were, it would be amazing. But not only that, if it could fit in their pocket. So how do you make a Mac fit in somebody's pocket and make it available? And finally, he created the iPhone. So in this course, what I do is we take you through what we teach at Stanford. So we first start with what's important to you, because there's a lot of research which shows that if you care about something, you inherently persevere more, you can deal with challenges. So that's where we start with behavioral science. And the idea is figuring out your own potential. And then once you have figured out what you really care about, then you come together as a group and you look at a shared purpose. And we use design thinking, which is very popular at Stanford. and you use that method, that approach to solve a real world problem with a solution that is disruptive, that is unique, that has that brings tremendous benefits to users. And the goal of this program, it's really an enabler that teaches you life skills that you will use in your college journey and throughout your life. And, you know, the kind of skills you're learning here, the kind of things about yourself, about innovation, this is the start of the learning. This is, and the whole idea is to launch you so that you have a better sense of what you can do with college, what educational experience you want to have, and use it in the many, many learning experiences you're going to have there. So if you can move on to the next slide. So to make it more specific, what are you going to learn? Life skills to really understand what you care about, take risks and overcome fears. You know, a lot of times you're not willing to talk about fears, but let me tell you, fears are natural to everybody. Whether you're in high school, your parents, your grandparents, it doesn't matter. So how do you learn to deal with them and overcome them? Then working in a team, global teams, that's how the really big problems today in the world are solved. So how do you work with teams, solve real world problems, talk to real users, and then figure out a solution, which helps you build your self-awareness, innovation, and presentation skills. And remember, presentation is tremendously important because you have to communicate your ideas to many, many people. It could be your users, it could be investors, it could be other people you're trying to recruit, and really gain some authentic experiences that will help you in your application process and your future college journey. So you pick your project, and the project space is very broad, and we use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So it could be a climate change project, social justice project, or education, like making education available to everybody. And some examples are, I'll just pick one example, building an affordable web presence for small businesses. You may be surprised that many of the small businesses don't have a web presence. So how do you make it available to these people, to these companies who don't have a lot of money and don't have a lot of technical know-how? And the whole idea is to use these kind of projects so that we can bring students together to work on something where they have a shared purpose. But all the skills you are gaining here, you can use them for-profit type of companies too. Okay, great. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you so much, Raj. So our next project is Climate Action Global Solutions. Our instructor, Jagriti, unfortunately is ill. And is unable to speak to this, so I will give you an overview on her behalf. So I know you all know about climate action, climate change. You know, it's a multifaceted, fast-changing issue with lots of funding being put behind it currently by the U.S. government. So there's going to be an exciting growth in this area, and there needs to be. I encourage you to consider this as one of your priorities. So basically, you will go through a process where you will review the causes, scope, and impact of climate change. You'll learn a process for working from the problem to the solution in effective ways. You will be picking an area to dive down into, of course. And what we really hope is that what you come out of from this project is something you can take forward in your community or as an individual and actually move forward and take action. So next slide, please. So I already mentioned some of this. And again, like I said, the technology is changing very rapidly. The basic cause and scope has not changed that much, but we're getting much better at measuring. We're hopefully getting better at taking political action towards this. So there's, again, multifaceted. There's social, scientific, and political aspects to this. So you would be using all of your skills in coming up with a project and implementing it, presenting it to your instructor and others, making sure it's sound and scalable and fits, and that you can convince other people. So again, communication is super important. So that was a quick overview of our 4 different project themes.